Finally back. Finally back in the States. So, I mean, I guess we'll call this a rest day. Technically, yesterday was the rest day when I was coming back from London. I sort of had a little bit of a ethical dilemma. Or not a dilemma, but kind of a problem that I was trying to decide the right answer to. Because I got back at around midnight. And we left for the airport around 5. And the amount of food and water that I drank during that whole period, let's just say it was not as much as I would like. So back at midnight, and a little beforehand, made an executive decision. Can you believe it? Skip the gym. But, I mean, that's always been my approach. Every time I talk about rest days, I don't say never take a rest day. I say only take them when necessary. You know, and I've only got 2 situations when that occurs. Either I'm fucking sick as a dog, which, even if I'm a little sick, I usually still go. Or, if I'm just fucking busy, man, scheduling-wise, to the point where I can't really prepare enough to have a good workout. The arm day that I'm going to have today, after sleeping all night, getting a big-ass bowl of eggs, cheese, salsa, and onions, and then sleeping all day, plus having like 2 liters of water with some electrolyte mix in them. This arm day today is going to be much more effective. Just because, well, I mean, I'm more well-rested, obviously, more hydrated, and I'm just going to feel better when I do it, you know? So I want to lift as frequently as possible, daily. You know, that's pretty much the bar, which I like. But if I can't prepare, like if the night before I got zilch for sleep, hardly ate much, kind of dehydrated, it's not going to be in my best interest to fucking, you know, stress my body out by doing a lift. I got to kind of get on my A game when it comes to those 3 pillars of preparation. You know, I say this all the fucking time. Sleep, food and drink. I guess that's really it. Sleep, food, drink. If you're properly rested, well-fed, and well-hydrated, I have no reason to believe that you can't do a lift back to back to back to back to back. And if you ever feel like, you know, you're a little bit tired or you're unrested or you just, I mean, you know for a fact that you're not going to have a very productive lift, then it may be in your best interest to back off. But the problem arises with that sort of thought process of gauging whether or not you should go lift or stay home and rest. Because, you know, for the most part, people are fucking lazy. And I don't mean just people, I'm talking about me included, you know? So where is that bar? You know, where can you really tell, like, oh, I actually am physically tired. I should stay home. I should rest. I should save up some energy to lift tomorrow. You know, where does that get blurred to, I'm feeling kind of lazy. I'll just say I'm taking a rest day. You know, so that's where I think that the 2 thought processes of frequency, one is a little bit better to start with, and I think the other one is kind of babyish, you know? So if you start out working out and you've got the mentality, no matter what, sick, 0 sleep, feel like shit, you're going to lift. I'm not going to say that every lift you're going to have is super productive, but you will kind of have that dog in me mentality, and it's going to show, you know? So it kind of shows how, you know, into it you are. And then the guy who constantly takes rest days whenever he feels the slightest level of discomfort, or he's not totally hyped up to go lift, or like some of his buddies weren't going to be at the gym that day, so he says, I'll just stay home. You know, that guy, I don't think all of a sudden he's going to like start training like a freak. I think he's going to consistently just kind of be a schmuck almost, you know? And I kind of do want to be mean when I say that, because we've all go to the same gyms. I mean, not the same gym, but we all go to the same gyms year after year. And I know that you see dudes who just, they're right there, 0 progress. They're locked in at a 225 bench. And they just look the fucking same, you know? So I would be inclined to believe that those guys aren't really pushing it so hard to the point where they're actually, you know, training to discomfort. Because you got to remember, if you look the same month after month after month, then that means that everything you've been doing and all the energy that you put into working out, diet, sleep, like the amount of shit you have to give up because you're giving up a fucking, I mean, including the drive, pretty much 2 hours a day. You've only got so much time. So this is like taking 2 hours out of every day. Fuck, man, you better enjoy it. But if after 3 months or 6 months or a year or many years, you're still the same dude, then that means that everything you've been doing has only been enough to maintain where you're at now. Now, if you're in your fucking physique's final form and you're like, this is what I like, I'm going to stay here, this is good for me, then that's perfect. You know, I bet in a way a lot of people are jealous of somebody like that because they're not constantly like, I don't want to say dissatisfied. It's not like I look in the mirror and I think, oh God, I look like shit, fuck, or I'm not big enough. But, you know, it is kind of just a constant reaching, a constant like yearning for more and more, which, I mean, some people, especially anybody who's like a fucking gearhead freak, they probably lose fact of, they probably got a little bit of a switch flipped off in their brain, you know, so I think I probably count within that realm, but there'll be a limit for sure. Eventually I'll get to a point where I'm like, okay, this is the build I like, I'm just going to maintain right here, but I have no idea where that's going to be, so we'll have to see. Definitely upper 200s. 300 pounds, that's far from my grasp right now. So we'll see what happens once I get to like 280, 270. But what I'm trying to say here is the guy who starts out training every day, no matter what, just fucking going hard like a nut. Like nothing's going to stop him. Once he realizes, which I feel like I've kind of done, eventually like, okay, maybe I should take a rest day because that is literally going to be better for my progress than to train right now. Like it's going to be better for me growth-wise to save legs for tomorrow and just take a rest day because I can tell I'm a little dehydrated, I didn't prepare properly, I should rest. Right? The guy who switches from that fucking nut mentality to more of a, like, okay, this is legitimately the best move, that's going to be smarter. And the guy who constantly fucking, yeah, I'll just back off. I'm going to take a rest month. I need to desensitize. Come on. Which one of those guys is going to be more jacked? You know, so that's really the main point I'm trying to say there. And then, unrelated to training, we can just kind of talk about the UK trip. My eyes were a little bit bigger than my body. So I was at Dino's gym, super hardcore, a bunch of crazy old, like real specific machines, rattly dumbbells, super heavy, really good lifts over there. I posted a few of those, and then a few are going to be on the Hostile channel. But afterwards, he's like, fuck, man, take a hoodie. And a 3XL might be a little big for me, which kind of sucks to say. But I'd rather grow into it, you know. I feel like I even did that when I was a kid. Like whenever we'd be at like a swim meet or whatever, I'd always try to get the biggest shirt I could. But now even fucking a 2XL shirt that's been sitting in my closet for years, I can't even fucking fit into it. You know, so you gotta remember, if you're an early, you know, year 1, year 2 lifter, you're only like 180 or so, I would recommend getting a few, you know, 3XL long sleeve shirts or hoodies or just whatever. Because it's pretty cool to grow into shit, you know. I've got like workout shirts, like long sleeve stuff, which I've had and I've been wearing since I was like 170 pounder. And they still fit now. Now they fit a little bit more well, and they're actually kind of getting a little bit tight on me. But it is pretty cool to be able to have such a tangible, you know, thing that you can see yourself grow into. So next time you're on, you know, next time you're buying some shit, maybe go up a few sizes just so you kind of have a constant motivator, like, oh shit, I gotta fill this fucker out. But yeah, so I can definitely tell I'm light. I got on the scale. This is probably my most unfortunate news to bring. 250 pounds. Not good. Not very good. But only a momentary setback. Because you got to remember, when I lose, you know, 10 pounds or something over like a trip, because I'm not getting my meals in and I'm not drinking enough water and electrolytes and staying hydrated, and my sleep was kind of fucking bananas this whole time. Not that those are excuses. I definitely could have been better about the food. I'm still kind of working on that. Like, I mean, this is like my second really big event where I'm like fucking pretty busy. So I got to get a little bit better about packing my food and meals and everything. But even though I went from literally 260 a few weeks ago to now 250, does that mean that 10 pounds of muscle just evaporated off my frame? Well, not exactly, because you got to remember, the bigger you are, the larger your fluctuation of weight can be, depending on how well or poorly hydrated you are, and how well fed versus kind of flat you are. So when you're up at like 250, 260, if you go a few days without really getting in enough food, fuck man, your weight can drop 7 pounds, 8 pounds. In my case, unfortunately, 10 pounds. But that's not muscle, that's just intramuscular fluids, right? We're talking sarcoplasm and glycogen, pretty much the sugar water that fills up your muscles, right? That's, if you ever hear about carbo loading or just, carb loading of somebody doing like a marathon or something, the night beforehand, they're eating fucking hundreds of grams of carbs worth of pastas or whatever else, such that for the next day, intramuscular glycogen, right, all their little fuel levels, if you were to zoom in onto each fiber of your fucking quads or your pecs or whatever, you've got a little gas tank of pretty much sugar water.